Hi guys, we have quite a lot of material to go over today about human impact on biodiversity. I want to start by honoring the memory of Wangari Maathai. She won the 2004 Nobel Peace Prize for her efforts in organizing an effort to plant forests and to also plant fuel wood so that the pressure on the forest would decrease and so that the people doing the planting and the harvesting of the fuel wood, namely the women, would have control over their income. Um, Here in our part of the country, we have lots and lots of grassland, and we have issues maintaining that grassland. If it gets overgrazed, especially during a drought, we run the risk of losing our soil, and then we lose the bit of arable land that we have. If, on the other hand, we can regulate that grazing, then the good news is, after a few years, it can be restored back to its natural state, where the soil can build up again and the water will also build up again. So here in the American West, we can do things like pay ranchers for their conservation efforts, or on the other side, we can pressure the government to enact certain laws, and we'll talk about laws and zoning and things like that. Here's an easy way to remember or the negative impact that humans have on the environment. It's the acronym HIPPO. So remember, always you can pause so that you can make sure you write things down. This would be a good slide to pause and make sure that you write everything down. The first one there is habitat loss, literally us moving in. The second one is overhunting. Sometimes we harvest way too much. Where is habitat loss a big issue? Well, there's certain hotspots. Diversity hotspots, and we'll go over those in a little while too. Invasive species is the next big risk that humans introduce to biodiversity. If you've lived in the southeast, then you know and you hate kudzu because it's one of those species that's very, very difficult to wipe out. Here are a couple more examples that we know very well. Things like the wild boar, things like the African honeybee, the fire ant. The fire ant, for example, is not a Texas native. It's from South America. What are some things that we can do? Well, something as simple from not allowing animals to escape to things that you wouldn't expect, right? Don't dump the contents of your aquarium into wetlands or not even down the sink, because where do you think it goes from there? Don't dump unused bait. Make sure you wash your kayaks, your canoes between going from one body of water to another. A successful invader species is our selected species, like a roach. So it eats pretty much everything. It reproduces really, really quickly. It has lots and lots of babies and has a really short gestation time. A place that's vulnerable to invasive species is a place that's just kind of delicate to start off with. Pollution is the next risk for decrease in biodiversity because of people. DDT is the classic example. So not only did it have effects on good insects like honeybees, but it reduced the ability of eagles, they were the most famous ones, of birds in general to be able to make eggs that they could lay. Here's a couple more examples of overharvest, overexploitation. And it all depends on the organisms that we value. Sometimes it depends on the organisms that we compete with, and so we'll tend to kill predators and pests that bother us. Here's a classic example, and I'm sorry for the graphic picture, but it's a truth that we need to face. These rhinoceros are often killed for their horns, and that's what the horn is used for right there. Something like maybe just as petty as the handle of a knife. Demand for bushmeat rises and falls with the availability of other kinds of food. And what can happen is, while people are butchering that bush meat, bodily fluids can get mixed up. You cut your hand, you cut the meat, the blood mixes up. This is one theory